All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Readers. Man, I for sure got Soundhound and Palantir wrong. All right, there is no question about it, and it really stems with I got the NASDAQ wrong. All right, so what I'm gonna do on this video is I'm gonna do the first part NASDAQ, and then from there I'll go specific into Soundhound and Palantir. All right, if you've watched my AI videos before, there is a hierarchy. Wow, that was hard to say. And it starts with NASDAQ, it then goes NVIDIA, it then goes Palantir, it then goes AI, C3 AI, and then it goes Soundhound. All right. End of the day, the NASDAQ controls what happens with tech stocks. Doesn't matter if it's AI, doesn't matter if it's EV, anything that is tech lives and dies by the NASDAQ. And for real, I very, very much panicked on Thursday. There's nothing else that I can say. That's basically what I'm going to go over. I'm going to give you a couple things of why I got Thursday wrong. Man, the best thing to say, though, is the Discord. You can see Friday morning, the first thing I do is I start talking about it. NASDAQ, my first screenshot was only just a little over 1%. You can see we ended over 2, right? So just a lot to talk about on the NASDAQ, and then obviously if NASDAQ's going to look like this, if you don't already know, Soundhound I thought would have done a little better, and I think that's a really, really interesting doji, but Palantir follows the NASDAQ, and again, Palantir is a little closer on that hierarchy, so it makes sense that Soundhound just didn't quite do as well, but obviously I'll say it did good enough. All right, so I'll talk about all that and more, but before we go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself, and then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can please subscribe to this channel, share this video online with your friends, comment good or bad. Look, anything you can do helps me so much with these YouTube algorithms, but for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh man, I am so appreciative of it all right? So we're going to talk about NASDAQ first, all right? And one more time, I overreacted on Thursday. There is nothing else I can say. You hear me often say I am much louder about my mistakes than like when I call things correctly. Hey, I have to be super loud on Thursday, all right? So to talk about why I got Thursday wrong, we really need to talk about Wednesday, all right? So Wednesday the 8th, what happens is we get over the 100 moving average on Tuesday. Wednesday, I get what is a doji candle, all right? And look, I am not a candle shape trader. I'm a break the line kind of guy, right? Like break the line is important to me. Lose the line is important to me, right? When I see a doji, which is this shape candle, next to or basically on a really important line, either one of the moving averages or maybe one of my manual ones, I definitely give more weight to the computer generated ones, right? But I saw the doji, and I always say, and it's a general rule, so it's really funny to use the word always and general, right? But in general, the day after the doji tends to tell the truth, all right? And man, that was a bad truth on Thursday, okay? So that's one reason why I was already pretty down on this day. I think the other thing was, look, this thing opened at 13,693, all right? It's that second number, right? That's literally like $4 away from my line, right? So I thought I drew a really good line. It was obviously enough to stop the open, and then we go down from there, right? The next reason I got it wrong was the SP 500, the SPX. Same thing. Doji, bad candle. When the two do the same thing, that's a little worrisome. What happened to the third one, Dow Jones? One more time, even worse than a doji, and then the same red, right? So with all of those, I definitely focused on all of that and started getting worried, all right? What I missed, all right, what I hope you see, what I missed was 2 things, all right? Number one, I always talk about confirmation. I always talk about any penny stock, any $13,000 stock, anything. You need confirmation. And what did I do? I reacted on a single day. I did not wait for confirmation. I assumed the next day was going to follow, and that was dumb. I talk about confirmation and I skip. It's one of those reasons why I also always say, look, if I happen to slip and let you know where some of my money is being traded, don't assume it's going to go up, up, up because I'm this magical thing on YouTube, right? Like, believe me, I'm a greedy little gambaholic, and I make my mistakes. And this is an easy example. I didn't even listen to probably my number one rule, confirmation, right? I assumed one bad candle meant we were going to see 3 or 4 right after it. And I was basically saying, I think we're going to come here or here, right? Like, I'm not pretending I didn't say any of that, right? So first mistake was confirmation, and basically was not waiting for it, was just assuming. And man, we all do that too. I used to do that regularly, right? So I use that we, literally meaning myself as well, right? But yeah, this is a hard thing to do. Like, this is why computers move billion-dollar funds, right? Because you can program something to say, hey, don't forget to wait the next day, right? Versus, you know, the humans that we are. So that was mistake number one. Mistake number two, man, I look at this 8 moving average. All right. I always say that 8 is a powerful line. Good things happen over the 8, and they definitely happen over the 8 and the 20. And really, this thing doesn't even need to use the 8 to bounce. But if you saw the other ones, it's a little more clear. Look, this one actually even uses a combination of the 50 and the 8. I always say it's hard to lose 2 lines, right? And I mean, it was. This thing also literally like bounces on the 8 as textbook as it gets. Same with the Dow Jones. Literally gets to the 8, also has this cluster of 3 lines, let alone the 2 lines, uses the 8 up, right? And this one's actually over the 100 as well, right? So NASDAQ is what I got wrong. NASDAQ is what I got wrong, and that led me to make the same incorrect assumptions with Soundhound and Palantir, and that's obviously what we're going to talk about shortly, right? But, you know, the one thing I want to just kind of talk about, so now, feel free to pause and actually like read things if you want to get into the details. But look, again, the first screenshot I took was just over 1%. I start guessing why things were going good, right? I didn't even realize the technical things that I'm talking about now, like as the moments happen, right? But, you know, I started hearing some news that the US made some hardcore statements about the war. I thought maybe that'd be enough for things to cool down. I saw that Biden and President Yi, I'm pretty sure I said that right. If not, I'm really sorry. They're gonna meet in my home state of California, right? Hopefully our blue skies of California. But look, China's the real deal, right? Like if things are bad there, oh my goodness, right? So hopefully the meeting is making people happy. Look, again, a couple hours later, we're at a NASDAQ of 1.5, little bit more NASDAQ 1 and 8, and then obviously you see it closing over 2, right? The one thing I do want to call out, where was the comment? One second. Sorry. This right here. Okay, let me know if anyone else saw this, and you can obviously see my questions after it, but it looks like Moody changed the outlook on the United States to negative. All right, Moody is an important third-party person. Look, do I really read those and stuff like that? I personally don't. I know the name Moody for sure. I know a negative reading on the United States is not a good thing, right? So let me know if anyone else heard that and knows the timing, and like, when did that happen? Did that happen during my first screenshot at 1.5? Did it happen after this close of 2? I think some of that timing is important. But look, NASDAQ doing well has to make you believe, all right? And look, right now, where am I at? I need confirmation on Monday, okay? I do, because this failed the 100, this regained the 100. I need confirmation that yes, we've broke it and we're going to go, go, go. And hey, if we broke it and go, 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 we're probably going to be coming around here, probably to 13.9, 13.95. I don't know if we'll break 14, but yeah, we actually might kiss it, might even get to 14.90, give or take. All right. Otherwise, we might come back down to this 13.6 line because it's not quite 50% of it, but it's close enough to where, you know, like we're either going to come down here, or I would say confirmation. What's this line? Is that too low for confirmation? Give me a second, sorry. So that line, what's this line? I think that's too much. Asking for $100, that's another 1%. No, you can't do that. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. If this thing, all it actually really needs to do for me is go to 13,840. Give me 13,840, and I know that's a very small number, and it's actually probably not gonna make a big candle, but dude, NASDAQ's is an indice, right? I almost said stock, sorry, but NASDAQ, the indices don't go more than 0.5% up, 0.5% down. So 0.5%'s a really big number. I try to do some quick math in my head, and yeah, I think getting me just into that 13.8-ish range, I would be really comfortable. It'd be a smaller candle than I'd expect on a regular stock, but this is obviously the NASDAQ, right? So confirmation on Monday will drive what we see with the next two, all right? Let me know if you have any questions, any thoughts on NASDAQ, let me know. Otherwise, let's get into PLTR. This is what the hierarchy that I talk about means. Look, I actually don't know what NVIDIA looks like, NVDA. Oh, I'm surprised the candle isn't as big. Interesting. PLTR, nonetheless, this is the one I wanted to talk about. I will tell you what my plan. Look, I'm holding Palantir. Once it did this earnings gap up, it was just, I was very, very much talking about going into that $22 range, right? And that's essentially what I'm kind of thinking about again, right? But I'll get to that shortly. But yeah, I got into Palantir. I then obviously started to worry. My plan was to probably average up somewhere around here. Maybe I probably would have taken my first little average up around 740. Clearly, I regret missing the 8 moving average bounce, and I clearly regret not buying more at 8. Like I said, my assumptions were all NASDAQ driven. I assumed NASDAQ was going to come around here to 13.3. I assumed that would allow Palantir to drop to probably here, if not maybe here. And yeah, I mean, I was getting ready to pick up a little bit more as it like came down. Like if it came down here, I probably would have piled up a bit because I did like this earnings gap, right? But man, nonetheless, I'm kind of talking more personal than stock. End of the day, this is what happens when the NASDAQ does well, because you got to remember the earnings for this stock were good enough to gap over four out of the 5 moving averages and actually confirm the next day, right? So this was a real earnings. This was a real market liked it earnings, right? With confirmation the next day. From there, it kind of just starts to stall a bit, but hey, it really doesn't in a lot of ways because it never actually loses that 8 moving average, right? Again, you heard me talk about the overreaction at Thursday. I definitely assumed things were going to drop from there, but man, I am sad I did not use the moving averages. And you hear me say it, I love these lines. I love them a lot, right? And look, some ways this is the doji, that's the bad candle, that's the confirmation, that alone is one of the rules. But hey, some things supersede other things. And yeah, I'm a little sad that I didn't let the moving averages do what they do. You know what I mean? So is what it is, right? Like no one's perfect. I'm for sure not, right? But I'm kicking myself a little bit. I can't pretend, right? And look, MACD is looking good, RSI is looking good, volume's basically back to where we want it to be. And again, I've talked about this channel a couple times. This 19 to 22, let me just zoom out a little bit more, all right? Because this is the line. Green, 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 green. Red, 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 red. Green, 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 green. Just a whole bunch. Red, 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 red. Green, green. Like it should be a fast ride up to 22. Man, if the NASDAQ can confirm, man, if Palantir can confirm, we still need confirmation. And again, for me, it's less about this Palantir confirmation. It is more, just in case you fast forwarded, I need NASDAQ to confirm. I really, really do, right? If NASDAQ goes down, I do think Palantir will go down. That statement right there does not change, right? Because I still see NASDAQ went up, this went up, right? So I am putting a lot of this day on NASDAQ, even though the 8 moving average is actually like seemingly doing the job. Like that is maybe a little bit of a bias that I kind of don't, I'm holding too hard. I don't really know, right? But yeah, for me, I do believe that this positive earnings would have gone down, down, down if NASDAQ did with it, right? Like that is something I do believe. But man, as long as NASDAQ can go up, this is still so fresh, and that $20 is just knocking on the door. And like I said, I love the channel that's there, right? Where are we on the weekly here? Yeah, we're just continuing. This is not quite the confirmation candle I would have liked, because again, on this weekly, we break 2 moving averages. I think I would have wanted just a little bit more on this. However, right, just as I zoom out, it's a little easier to see it here. I'm glad we got over the line. I'm glad the MACD, you can see it, is green over red. RSI is green over red. That's positive. That's a real healthy 50. And that seems to be the place where it resets. It comes here, goes up, comes here, hopefully goes up, right? On the flip side, it comes here, goes down, and then kind of comes back. But I think more things are kind of telling us we want to keep going up, right? So overall, I am for sure sad I overreacted to the NASDAQ on the personal side. I am glad NASDAQ's doing well for the stock in general. And yeah, if NASDAQ comes down, I wouldn't be, I don't know if it'll go. Okay, my first line was going to be here, and I'll at least draw it. 18, basically 19 bucks. We can just call it $19. Maybe it comes down to 19. I think maybe it comes down to like 19.20. Otherwise, we're just going to keep going in what should be an easy channel from here to 22. All right. So let me know your thoughts and opinions. I don't think that, like I said, if there was any news that you think I missed that justify, because I will be honest with you, I'm a little surprised. NVIDIA was, oh, wow, did I do that really dyslexic? NVDA. I'm a little surprised NVIDIA wasn't a little closer to like 5%. I guess 3% ain't that bad, and that is a relatively big candle. But yeah, let me know if there's anything specific on Palantir. I'll be honest, I didn't really look. I was obviously, you can see, focused on NASDAQ the entire Friday, right? So yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Otherwise, let's come into this one. So soundhound is a really, really, really interesting chart here. And it really, more than anything, actually is a really interesting candle. All right. I always stress, I'm not a candle trader. There are people that actually have none of the lines that I use here, and they make their decision 100% based on the candles, whether it's one single one, whether it's back to back and how they look. Like, candle shapes is a trading strategy onto its own, right? Hey, I for sure see after hours going up. I for sure am not gonna, like, I ignore that. I am not one to really let after hours kind of like sway my decisions, all right? What is crazy about this day is, look, generally when people talk about the doji is more about like the skinny body with the wicks, right? The skinny body with the wicks. This is as textbook as it gets with a single line. Super, right? To me, as a non-pure candle person, dude, this is a doji. It is, to me it is. And I think the word doji to me, just more than anything, just screams uncertainty. Okay, because there were moments where some people thought we were breaking the 50 moving average. The 50 moving average has been the story for Soundhound. I've roughly rounded it up to this $2 line, but yeah, end of the day, I mean, you can see it. Once we lost it right here, we've actually never even given a real candle to it, and this was actually the first wick touch of it. Like, this doesn't even touch it, right? Like, we're getting closer and closer and closer to it. But Friday was actually the first day we even remotely tapped it, right? So the 50 line has been the story for Soundhound. And some people actually thought someone unfortunately bought up here, right? Is what it is. But yeah, someone thought that this was going to start hitting the twos. This thing actually got as high as $1.93, right? So some people believed on Friday. And a lot of it is because, give me a second, a lot of it is because of this NASDAQ. Like, it's a monstrous NASDAQ, just in case you fast forward it, all right? There are other people that thought to themselves, no, you're ridiculous. This thing actually deserves to be under all 5 moving averages. This thing deserves to go back to this 152 line and maybe even lower, right? Like, people could not decide if it should break 3 of them or live under all 5, right? And end of the day, it really was only an insignificant move. Opens at 73, goes up to 79. What is that, 6 cents? Yeah, I'm doing insignificant math when it was right up there. But yeah, this day to me was more about these 2 wicks. It was more about this like extreme uncertainty, right? Again, some people were ready to say, we're done. We're breaking these 3. Like, you know the rules. If you break the 8, go to the 20, break the 20, go to the 50, break the 50 and go to the 100, right? Like, that's the goal right now. And oof. What did we do though? We did some important thing. We definitely got back over the 8 moving average. I wish we closed just a little higher. I think this 181 number would have been just a little more important of a close. That said, look, what am I looking for tomorrow? It's this right here. Oh, it's literally the top of this too. Are you at 185? 184. Let's call it 185, team. If this can close at 185 on Monday, obviously better is even better, right? But if this breaks 185, it's going to start to be really, really hard to ignore the 50, all right? And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to lower this line. You know what? No, I'm just going to draw another one. I'm going to draw that 184. Again, we know it's 185. You know the lines aren't here for perfection, right? And look, that actually kind of lines up with the bottom of that. Break 184. Again, it's no guarantee that breaking 184 means we're going to break the 50. But my attention will very much shift to, I think we're getting ready to break it. That's a beautiful volume candle right there. That is the best volume candle in quite some time, right? So, man, NASDAQ confirms on Monday, this confirms on Monday, and things could look really nice here. The one thing I want to say, all right, is it seemed like the SoundHound earnings were relatively good. I really did not see a single bad comment from most of the viewers. I think there's actually it's funny. Most stocks that I cover have like a hardcore like fan base following. There is actually a really realistic group of followers of SoundHound, and it's such a beautiful thing to see. I've seen people say bad things when SoundHound does or says bad things, and you know what? Instead of getting attacked, the others kind of agree or disagree in a really like beautiful way. There's no other word for it, right? It seems like people like the SoundHound release. It seemed like paired with the Palantir release that was, 2 weeks ago? It seemed like those two combined would have been a very beautiful, I'm saying beautiful too much, I'm sorry, but it would have been a really like powerful combination to make it fly. If NASDAQ holds, oh man, I think this uncertainty will be answered very, very loudly. I don't want to make a quick assumption or statement that we might close over the 50 on Monday if we get the good day that I'm kind of seeing maybe. But again, I'm going to end it with, did I talk about the weekly? Let me just flash the weekly real quick before I say, oh, interesting, we did not. Tell me you were at 181, you were at 182, so even that 181 number I mentioned. So I'm a little disappointed that we didn't close over the 8 moving average. I don't think I care as much as I normally would. This is very much a day-to-day situation. I think by Tuesday at the very latest, we're going to know which way things are going. But yeah, I'm gonna say it one last time because this is where I want it. The SoundHound charts are all about the 50 moving average. if we can get over this very, very, very pesky red line, that will be important. The one thing to also call out is the 100 is now starting to ramp down a little more drastically. Like you can see the slope changed a lot more drastically there than it was right here. The 50 ends up doing that because, look, I don't know the math, right? But like eventually gap downs like make things fly down, and we like this spacing. I like that the 50's down here and the 100 is way up here, right? As this comes lower and lower, the distance between those lines obviously gets less and less, and that means the profit expectation gets less and less, right? So we want to move on the 50 immediately. We want to break it while the 100 is as high as it gets before this starts to make it like come down, because again, just remember it was, and then it starts to go, and then it starts to go even more drastically, right? So it'll eventually catch up to this. So let's do it soon so we can get as much as we can. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Otherwise, as always, thank you.